Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine, and this is your exclusive interview show. It's an opportunity for me to interview some of the top guys in the game, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, whether it's personalities, etc. And today I have a special guest with you. I only announced that it's a special guest because I wanted you guys to come on here because it's an important conversation to be had. I'm going to be bringing to you Shukri Conrad, is under 19 coach, and we're going to be talking to him about it. His position right now going forward, the importance of him to the future of this game, because I think that he holds the key to that, to the future of our cricketers in the country, as well as the recent Cubs week, which obviously saw the Cobras win the tournament. So I'm not going to hold you too long, but what I want you guys to do before we get going is to subscribe to this channel, of course, and click that notification bell for all future videos as well. And let's get Shukri onto the show. I'm going to open up the comments for you guys as well so that you guys can ask him questions if you do want to ask him any questions. But majority of the show will just be me speaking to Shukri. If you want your comments to jump out, you have to get involved with the super chat. I won't be able to look at every single comment in the comment section. So welcome to the show, Shukri. I really enjoy talking to you always, and I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, thanks, Khalid. I must apologize for my headset. My son's a bit of a gamer, and he said, with the SA under 19 side, so you need to start looking the part. So hence my woke headset, so to speak. I hope I've got all of the lingo right. But thanks. Great to be able to chat to you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be playing a lot of Call of Duty with this headset against the other guys in the team with the bubbles, etc. when you two eventually get to play. I want to start off with the Cubs week. I obviously saw you there. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I always love going to the Cubs weeks, but unfortunately, because the Proteas were playing cricket and in the test arena against Pakistan and struggling over there, I had to cover it and bring that to the different players, etc., and to all of our fans out there. So I had to cover that intensely, and I couldn't stay for the entire tournament. And also because of the bubble restrictions, I didn't get an opportunity to speak to you there. So I'm taking this opportunity now. But I want to ask you, what was your initial reaction with the Cubs week? Were you happy with the talent that you saw? Were you happy with the intensity?
Yeah, firstly, I think we were a little lucky, and we've got to be eternally grateful that we managed to stage a Cubs week. I mean, we had to go through a lot of hoops, but credit firstly to Niels Momberg and everybody else involved, Eddie Koza, and for Cricket South Africa to allow this to happen. In the medical team, Dr. Mandra, everybody played their part. And it was critical that we had this week. I mean, I'm not going to go into times we find ourselves in. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But great to have cricket underway. Great to see our young talented players perform the way they did. It wasn't easy for them. They normally would have had quite a lot of preparation time. They'd have played in a coke week. They'd have had schools cricket to prep them, either varsity cricket, whatever it was. But it wasn't there now. So I was reliant on our scouts and coaches around the country, school coaches, whoever else, private coaches, to get these guys optimally prepared for the week. And yes, very excited with the talent. There are obviously some shortfalls and shortcomings. I think we'd be foolhardy to think that all's well and great. But the one thing that there is, and I challenge anybody to tell me that there isn't talent in our country. We've got talent in abundance. We're just going to make sure we harness the talent properly. We look after the players, and then we provide opportunity for them to showcase these talents.
Mm-hmm. So generally speaking, what is your approach when it comes to these types of weeks? How do you go about it? Do you have like a method, or do you just wing it basically? I doubt you wing it, because you must have some sort of process that you work through.
Yeah, so normally, like I said, they would have had the Coke week, the Kaya Majola Coke week for under 18s or high schools. Post the Coke week, the scouts in every region, together with the coaches of the various provincial teams, would get together and pick the franchise team, the Cubs team. This time around, there wasn't a Coke week for that process to take place. So the scouts would then present me with a squad of however many. I was also very fortunate in November, December to have two camps, an inland camp. And these were primarily, and for guys that were eligible for the World Cup in 2022 in the West Indies. So I needed to start putting a few building blocks. As well as I know the environment, I don't really know the players. So I wanted to see for myself at under 17 level, because again, there wasn't an under 17 week. So those were all parts of it. So ultimately, between the scouts, myself, some of their coaches in the provinces that we engage, the cup side is selected. And we had to find a way of doing it, like I said, because there wasn't a Coke week to judge it on. And I'm pretty comfortable with the process that was followed. Lots of engagement, lots of input from various people, and I try not to cut anybody out. I think everybody's got a role to play in all of this, and so yeah, I was pretty happy with the process we followed.
Now, there's always names that jump out, and there's people that you hear about, etc. And before tournaments, before major cup weeks, before Kai Majolo week, there's always a couple of names people speak about along the school circuit, etc. Sometimes they don't perform at Kai Majolo week. Maybe they just off form, or maybe something didn't go their way. What sort of advice do you give to them? You don't obviously write them off after one bad week or so.
No, you can't. I mean, that's the beauty of this school weeks. So, like you say, you get to a Kai Majolo week, and you select the South African cult side and South African school side based on the performances of the week. So, whatever the best performances are, you obviously look at all the performances, and then you try and balance your side out. And that's my take on how those things, that side will be selected. So, yes, you're right. The guys that come in with huge reputations, dating back to forever. Guys with big reputations arrive at a week, they get a bad decision, they get a good delivery, they get a run out, and the next minute they feel the pressure and the expectation is high, and they just don't perform. And then they obviously don't get selected for the South African school side. If your next question is, well, there might have been a few guys at the Cubs week that also arrived with big reputations that might not have performed, that possibly got selected. Similarly, there might have been guys that arrived there with not huge expectations and delivered big performances. Why were they not selected? I don't know if that's where your question is going. I think our Cubs week is slightly different in that if we just took the best player or the best performing players, well, then you didn't need me there. You didn't need a set of selectors there. You punch all the scores into the computer, and the computer spits out who the best 11 is. I've got to take it slightly further. I've got to look at potentially where the growth is in a lot of these players. Obviously, their performances must count for something, and it does. The performances have to count for something. But then also you've got to be able to project. So there might be two players of similar ilk. They've got a similar skill set. The one scored 320 runs for the week, and the other one scored 300 runs for the week. Do you go with the one with 320? Not necessarily. You've got to look and project, and that's where I'd like to think I get employed to do that. That's why I almost said get paid the big money. It's not the case. But that's why I get paid, is to be able to look and say, right, where do I think this can go? With the necessary interventions, with the necessary coaching, with creating the right environment, who do I think can kick on the further? So that gets taken into account as well. So if you're asking me, so what sort of advice if the guys were not selected for the South African under-19 side now? Look, the guys that have been selected, let's not beat about the bush here. The guys that have been selected have obviously got the inside lane for the World Cup. There's no doubt. But this doesn't mean that it's a cut and dried affair. Also, we don't know how much cricket we're going to have the rest of this year. Sri Lanka was due to come here at the end of March. That got cancelled. Thankfully, Cricket South Africa included us in the senior provincial tournament, which I think is going to be brilliant. I think it's great for these young players. I've also got under-19 players that performed fantastically well at the Cubs week, whose careers we also need to put out and kickstart, and they're not eligible for a World Cup. So there was like three we need to consider for this for the selection for the under-19 side. reward the top players, the guys that performed brilliantly. We've got 3-day matches against 2 very good senior provincial teams and 3 one-day matches. So I need some seniority there. And I need to keep one eye on the World Cup in 2022, not knowing how much cricket we're gonna have. We got a tour lined up for August, also to the West Indies. We'll prepare as if the tour is gonna happen. The tour might not happen. We don't know what's going to happen later on in the year with weeks and age group cricket and all the rest of it. We just don't know. So the sooner I start getting myself shall I say, a squad of players that I can start working with and I can get the coaches to work with, the better. But yes, I'm certainly not ruling out guys that haven't performed at the Cubs League. No doubt. We've still got our eye on quite a few players. We've identified another group of players below this tier that we want to continually monitoring and work with throughout the season as well, the year as well.
Yeah, my question was more going to be about what sort of advice would you give them if they didn't make the side, etc., or if they're feeling a little bit down.
Yeah, I went a bit long-winded there. Look, I think the important thing is very often players, like I say, the expectation they arrive with is massive. The pressure from schoolboys, from parents, from just the general, listen, he's expected to do well. So, and I'm not going to say it's any other week, just approach it like any other week, because it's not. It's the best players in the country that are there. And the sooner they start embracing that sort of pressure and find ways of dealing with it, the better for them. My advice to them is you've just got to keep preparing as you normally would. It doesn't mean you've now missed the boat entirely. I can give you countless names of players that didn't make Cubs Week teams and Coke Week teams that went on and played for South Africa. So it's certainly not the end of the road. This is only but maybe a little train that you missed along the way, but certainly there are a few stations that this train is still going to stop at. Yeah, so the advice to any young player that didn't perform is that the door's not closed. There's still plenty to play for, lots of opportunities for you guys to put in big performances. And yeah, under 19 schoolboy cricket is but a first and second step towards making it in the big time. And it's like I said, I've seen players that missed this boat and still gone on and played for South Africa. Even Markram didn't play in Northern's Coke Week. He got picked up and into playing the Cubs Week, and the rest is history. So yeah, countless examples.
So now my main question comes over here is, we know that the South African side, based on what we saw in Pakistan, basically, but as well, we can see that the transition phase is in at the moment, and a lot of our experienced guys are leaving the system, especially in domestic cricket as well. There's not a lot of experienced guys around. We're kind of in a situation where I feel that we need to prepare guys for Test cricket and prepare guys for in the international stage. That's why I was so happy with your appointment, because you've seen it. You've taken so many players to the Proteas level in your time as a coach. You've seen guys go on to the next stage. You've been involved with SA Emerging, SA A sides. You've been in that space before. But I think that the most important level for coaching is at the SA 19 level, to get boys prepared so that they can take the next step. What sort of things would you do with them so that you can get them ready for basically provincial cricket, because they're obviously going to drop the franchises in the future?
So the big thing for me is changing mindsets, and I'm not going to be able to do this on my own, but that for me is the big thing. I think we've got to really look at the way we play our cricket, and yeah, I talk predominantly white ball cricket, and with you're not going to come in and try and change everything, right? So my focus is the white ball cricket, and I've now got an opportunity with other coaches to play a few three-day matches, which will be great for these boys. But for me, it's the mindset of how we play our cricket. I think we need to get away from the situation that we find ourselves in and looking to make sure we don't lose first. I think at schoolboy level, having watched some schools cricket, Yeah, we don't play a very exciting brand of cricket. We play a really dull, outdated brand of cricket, and I'm probably going to get myself into trouble again. But if I look at domestically as well, at franchise level, we had the recent Momentum One Day Cup, and it was great. It was some really good cricket, but I think our cricket is stale. I think we needed to take on a different way of playing. I think way back, if you watched what the English did, there was a saying that if you want to mess up your cricket, you look at what the English have done and then you follow that. I think the converse holds true now. If you want to get your cricket right, you look at what England are doing and you follow that. If you look at the domestic game, like you say, I was there with an A side a few years ago. The way they had the 19 nights, the national side, someone came in and said, right, we're going to need to shake this up here. We're going to have to play cricket differently. We're going to have to play it aggressively. We're going to re-look at roles of players. We're going to re-look at balances of teams. And I'm not saying, listen here, just throw the baby out the cot here as well and let's follow England. We've obviously got to look at what we've got. And without wanting to sound cliche, I mean, we've got a diverse spectrum that we can choose from, and we've got to almost embrace that and say, right, depending on I mean, we look at the various players we've got. If I can change this skill set to an aggressive mindset, and that's the only thing I'm going to be challenging for now. Technically, I think our players are sound. You don't reach South African under 19 or Proteas or whatever with a bad technique. It's just the mindset that seems to engulf you. You go into defensive mode as soon as you're under pressure. So that's going to be my big mission. I'm going to try, and it's a great position I find myself in. I've got some great people around me in support staff. I've already started engaging with schoolboy coaches, with high school coaches, and saying, listen, yeah, this is pretty much the blueprint that I want. I need you guys to come along, and because you guys are going to see these kids more than I do. So if you were going to hold me down to one thing, what is it you're going to change, Shukri? Then it's going to change the mindset. We're going to look to be aggressive, not stupid. Not if it's a batting thing, it's not slogging. I mean, you look at what the conditions allow you to play, and if the conditions are good, well, then as a batter, you've got to put the bowlers under pressure. Similarly, as a bowler, what mindset do you arrive at the day with? You can't arrive there saying, I want to stop the guy from scoring runs. Your job is if I can knock guys over, you've got to find ways, and you've then got to upskill yourself. In the fielding, every single thing we do, we've got to do with an aggressive mindset. And it's also a lack of fun way of doing things, you know. We expend so much energy on screaming and shouting on the field and see who can abuse who the smartest and who can get one up over someone else. At the end of the day, there are no points for that. At the end of the day, it's the skill set that you bring and how aggressively you can drive it home. So, yeah, an aggressive mindset. That's what I'm going to look to bring to our under 19 setup, and hopefully that can filter up as well.
What I think will be very educational to everybody, fans and players as well, is because you've worked with so many great players in the past, and you will know their mindsets and you will know the way they approach their games. What differentiates the world-class players, those guys that go on to take that next step, and the rest?
I think it's that, for starters, I mean, the basics of cricket remain. Right? We don't now go on this journey of an aggressive mindset and say, well, all right, okay, you can now hold the bat with one hand and stick the other hand behind your back and then try and swing from the hip. That's not what I'm saying. So for me, what differentiates the great players from the good players are that the great players do the basics more often than the good players. And they also find their game a lot easier. They become comfortable with how they play, and then they're also open to change. They're open to seeing how they can do things differently. I mean, if you were to, and I haven't done this, and I'd love to sit down with Jacques Callis one day, or with Hashim Amla, or any of them, and say, right, if you could do something different, if there was something that you'd have liked to have done differently, what is it? And I'm sure they would have said, you know what, I wish I could, I took a few more risks, or or I expressed myself a bit more. And if I look at the modern day greats, and I hate using overseas players because we need to start creating our own modern day greats. But if you look at the guys, the modern day greats, they obliterate sides and they win games single handedly for their teams, and they play. I mean, they're game changers. So that's what I'm trying to instill. And again, that's what I think they do differently. They arrive, they've got this aura, and they look to win games, not to stay in games.
Another question I want to ask, because there's obviously a massive talk about the next captain for the Proteas, etc., and all of those things. But I'm not going to ask you about who's going to be the next captain for the Proteas, who you think it should be. My question is, sorry, this is a helicopter. Okay, my question for you is, you basically mold the next generation of captains in a way. So now, currently, obviously, you have a SN19 captain. We have Daniel Smith that you've named as captain. For you personally, what I've seen, and I spoke to Altus Momberg last night, and he also told me the same thing. The captain is such a big role in cricket. He plays such a big part with hand in hand with the coach. What sort of qualities do you look for? What stands out for you when it comes to picking a captain?
Okay, so I'm gonna look. I mean, I've obviously got a panel of selectors as well. It's not me that makes this decision single-handedly. Daniel is under nine. Daniel is not eligible for the World Cup. Okay, so Daniel tactically he seems a good captain. The Cobras won all the games. He did all the right things, and it looks as if players play for him. By making Daniel captain, it gives me an opportunity to breed other captains in the side, players I don't know yet. What am I looking for? I'm not looking for the head boy. I'm not looking for the guy that greets me every time he walks past me and doffs his cap. Yes, obviously it'd be great if he does it because there's that aspect to it as well. But I'm looking for the captain that breaks the mold slightly. Right? I mean, I think there are far too many head boy captains in our setup. There are far too many guys that just do the right things. I want a captain that has his own mind, that has his own thoughts on it, that's prepared to challenge me respectfully. I'm not looking for a maverick here that's going to go out and toss in a wife beater and slops. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm wanting to break the mold when it comes to captaincy as well. So over the next while, we've got an opportunity. I've got a chance to really get to know these kids, and I think there are quite a few guys within that under 19 squad that are still eligible for the World Cup that are going to put their hands up. I think there's some really good thinkers there. And this is what why I'm going to need the high school teachers and coaches with me as well. I mean, we can't have high school teachers giving the kids sheets of paper as to field placings and when, who must bowl, how, and all the rest of it. I want guys we need to get these kids to grow up quickly. And yeah, so Daniel is the safe bet for now. I still think he's going to do a really good job because he's shown that he's got what it takes from a captaincy point of view. But I'm not only looking for a captain, I'm looking for a leader. I think there's a massive difference. Captains can be good. They can make the right field changes and bowling changes. But I think we need leaders that can then grow into really good captains. And I've got a bit of time on my hand. And I'm excited at the prospect of I can think of 3 guys off the top of my head, some of them a lot younger than others, that I think can go on and captain South African under-19s at the next World Cup.
Cool, that's perfect. Thanks a lot for this interview, Shukri, for coming on the show. Giving us your time. I really enjoyed this interview. I learned a lot of new things every time I talk to you. I do. But good luck for everything in the future. Can you just give us some insight into what's going to be happening with the East Under-19s leading up to now, maybe till the end of the year?
Okay, so we've got this what do you call it, senior provincial tournament that we play in. We play in Kimberley we go in on the 13th of March, I think it is. We play Western Province, Northern Cape, Northerns. We play 2 3-day games and 3 1-day games, which is great. And then obviously the guys need to get some schoolwork in as well. So we then have, post that tournament, we'll start looking to set up a few camps. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got a tour to the West Indies lined up for August sometime. And then hopefully things that have normalized, and then we'll continually having our camps. I'd like to make the north-south coastal inland thing an annual thing, and I think it was great to kick the season off. And then obviously let's see how the rest of the month, how the rest of the year pans out. World Cup next year is obviously the big thing, and we need to start prepping properly for that as well.
Thanks a lot, Shukri, for coming on the show. Thanks to all the fans for watching, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Good luck for the future, Shukri.
Thanks, Khalid, and all the best with your show as well.
Thank you, man.